Yo, Hegassen here, and I've just read the Pokemon Sword and Shield data mine, so this little prop that I normally use, I ain't using that one for this video. This video is, of course, my review of One Piece anime episode 909, and this is definitely one of my most hyped episodes of the Wano anime so far. Probably as much as the very first episode of Wano. The reason for this is because this episode is based on manga chapter 919, and that chapter had a lot of big reveals and a lot of answers, or at least the start of some answers for the overall plot of Wano, and we got all of this here in this episode. It pretty much covers the entire chapter. A little bit of that chapter was covered last week, but for the most part it covers just this chapter. And it actually revealed a lot more than I was expecting in this episode. I thought maybe they'd drag it on a little bit more. I wasn't expecting to see the Straw Hats and stuff return at the end of this episode. I thought maybe they'd use that as like the cliffhanger thing, but they didn't. They kind of kept the cliffhanger similar to what it was in the manga. So let's get into this review, and hopefully my audio and video won't go out of sync this time. So this episode, like I said, it covers chapter 919, and in the episode we do start getting the first kind of real plot points of Wano. You know, we've had the stuff with Luffy and Otama declaring that why he wants to help Otama and feed everybody in Wano, and also stuff with Kinemon in the past. But this kind of really gets into the lore of Wano, some of the backstory, some of the history of Wano. And we first kind of get these hints here in this episode about who were the Kazuki family and what is going on with Kinemon. And yes, we see Kinemon here again, or do we? Maybe the ghosts of Kinemon. I'll talk about this a little bit later on in the review. A lot of the stuff, actually, I'm going to talk about quite a lot of stuff towards the end of this review, especially stuff relating to spoilers, because there is some stuff in here that is spoilerish and spoiler heavy, and especially leading into what is next week's episode as well. There's some spoiler stuff that is more related to the manga, so I'll talk about that more at the end. And it's going to be a little bit hard talking about this episode in as much detail because of the fact that I don't want to spoil anime onlys. You know, I already know a lot of the manga knowledge, so a lot of this stuff in here that isn't like big shocking revelations to me. The stuff that we did see for next week's episode, that was actually a little bit shocking, and a few of these little things in there where I was like, whoa, I can't believe they showed that. But for the most part, for me, as a manga reader, this episode wasn't as like, whoa! But I was still hyped regardless, especially to see Kyoshiro later on in this episode. Let's start off with how this episode began, and probably the biggest difference between the manga and the anime, and that is what on earth happened to Zoro. We have Zoro, he's sitting there on the back of the Komainu with Luffy, with Law, heading up to the castle, and they get attacked by a giant tiger, and Zoro goes to fight the giant tiger. A giant tiger with a sword in its mouth. Is this some kind of subliminal Pokemon Sword and Shield advertising? What? They got rid of the great joke from the manga. This is the biggest difference between the manga and the anime of this episode, is this Zoro thing. In the manga, Zoro just straight up gets lost while sitting on the back of the Komainu. He doesn't go off to fight a tiger. He just gets lost. What I imagine in my head is they're going along on the Komainu. They end up going through like a bush or something. When they come out of the bush, Zoro's gone. He's actually then sitting on the back of a tiger. Mild spoiler for the manga, we do see the tiger in a later chapter collapse to the side. No reason as to what it is, but the implied joke is that he thought he was still sitting on the Komainu, but he was actually sitting on the tiger. And like I say, that's where my headcanon is like, oh well, what probably happened is he went through a bush. When they came out of the bush, Zoro was gone, but he was actually sitting on this tiger, and he thought that everybody else got lost. They removed that joke here. I get that they wanted, you know, to have a little bit of padding, a little bit of filler stuff in it. I'm surprised they didn't use a little bit more padding and filler with the Straw Hat reunion that we got later on, instead of doing it with this tiger. I guess they just wanted to animate more Zoro fights, because obviously they've clearly been missing animating the Zoro fights. We then cut to the capital, and we get this very cute looking teacher, or at least she is cute until it's revealed that she has a really weird long snake neck, but she's still pretty cute prior to that. And we see that she's teaching all of this class. There's some student in the back that I very much doubt should be in that class. And she's teaching them a corrupted history of Wano. We get a lot of history about Wano, like I said in this episode, but this is a corrupted history. A guy outside confirms that what she's telling is actually a twisted version, lies. She's talking about how Orochi the current shogun was like the savior, and that how Kazuki Oden was a bad guy. We find out that he was a two-sword style user, and that his vassals, his retainers, the 9 red scabbards, or as they call them here, the Akazawa 9, I call them the 9 red scabbards, the 9 red scabbards, that they were villains, they were bad guys, and this is what Orochi, this is what Kaido is teaching. We find out later on the kind of little bit more of truth behind that from them actual people, from Kinemon himself, but we're seeing here that there is a little bit of propaganda going on in the flower capital. During this we see some like nice little drawings of Kinemon. Kinemon, really, you really need to change your kimono a few more times. Try out a few different styles. You got the clothes through after all. Try out maybe a different look. Also, we get a small image of some of the other members of the 9 red scabbards, and this is something that I want to talk about a little bit later on, because I was a little bit shocked that they showed that. You know, I actually paused it and had a little look, and I was like, I can't believe they actually just straight up showed that right now in the anime. I mean, they're already spoiling it with the opening, but showing all that there, it hides a little bit of the surprise factors later on. While we're still in the flower capital, next we get the thing that I was most hyped for, and we get the introduction of Kyoshiro. Kyoshiro, he is a great character. He is probably the most interesting character to me right now in the actual Wano storyline. We still don't even know a lot about him in the manga, but he's all I'm going to say, yeah, he's very interesting. Keep an eye on Kyoshiro. There could be some good stuff coming up later on with Kyoshiro, and we start that off here. Straight away we have this guy, he works for Orochi, and he's bad-mouthing him. Sure, he's drunk, but he's bad-mouthing him, and he's saying like, Orochi believes in this crazy story about these ghosts of the past, this curse from 20 years ago, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Kinemon actually explains a little bit more about that, and that Orochi is paranoid that the people of the past are going to come back, and they're going to go after him, they're going to take his head. And we see that there is a little bit of deception in the ranks, that not everybody is fully on side with what Orochi and Kaido are doing, or at least not everybody in Wano is black and white, good and bad. And we get that here first of all with Kyoshiro. I love his design, I love his look, I love his like pompadour style hair. I thought that maybe it was going to be like pure white for some reason. The blue looks alright, at least it's not like an absolutely crazy bright pink or something. So he still looks really good, definitely a character that I'm going to consider cosplaying in the future. Kyoshiro was talking about the ghosts of the past, so we cut over to the graves that Luffy and that were heading to, and we get Law talking about the fact that, yes, Kinemon, Raizo, Kanjuro, Momonosuke, all of them, they do indeed have graves. And we get this quite actually beautiful animation of Luffy reacting to that. He's confused, he's shocked. Law is telling the story of how Kinemon, he might appear at night. The ghosts of Wano! And out comes this creepy zombie silhouette, and Kinemon has diarrhea, but Kinemon is back. Why has he got a grave? He explains that at the end of this episode. That Kinemon, along with Raizo, along with Momonosuke, who appears as well in this episode, along with Kanjuro, and along with Okiku, yes, Okiku, was one of the samurai, was one of the retainers of Kazuki Oden, and has known Kinemon all along. Not really a surprise here. Probably one of the things that Zoro has guessed about Okiku. But Okiku runs in, gives Kinemon a hug. That is a hug. That is a interaction there that I want to know a little bit more about. And yes, all of these characters, they are actually from Wano of 20 years ago. They got sent into the future. More about this story will be explained later on, so I won't go into too many details on that. This is the cliffhanger that they actually end it on, same as it was in the manga. Whoa, very interesting stuff, some good stuff here. Great little bit of lore and backstory about Kinemon, and maybe explain some of the discrepancies around Momonosuke, about some of the statements that Momonosuke said way back on Zou about how he met Gold Roger and stuff. So, time travel now in One Piece. Interesting stuff. I really like that kind of gag that was playing out with Law, making it seem like he was talking about the fact that Kinemon was dead when he actually had diarrhea. That little scene around the graves was really beautifully animated. It's probably some of the best animation in this episode. The music was really good in that moment as well. I really like those scenes. We then get all of the Straw Hats as well. They all come back. Well, not all of the Straw Hats, I should say. All of the Straw Hats who were on Whole Cake Island and Carrot, they all come back. These are the scenes that I thought were going to play out a little bit longer, but we get all of the good old gags We get Brook being jealous of Momonosuke. Momonosuke enjoying a little bit of time in between Nami. I got a little bit jealous. Then we have Sanji, obviously doing the Sanji stuff, going up straight to Okiku. Poor naive Sanji. We also get Law's crew coming in here. So we've almost got all of the Straw Hats together. Just a shame that Zoro in the anime went off to fight a tiger. In the manga was just being classic idiot Zoro. The Zoro gag of just getting lost. Probably biggest disappointment of this episode was that. Everything else was really hype. One of my favourite episodes in a while. Definitely a gold tier. Just loses out on being gold tier plus because of that change to the Zoro gag and some of these spoilers that I'll talk about now. Yep, so we'll go back to that school and we'll go back and talk about the drawings that we saw in the book. And you have a look at the book. Obviously now I'm going to talk about some manga spoilers. So if you're anime only, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe down there. But we have the book. We have the picture of the Akazawa 9, the 9 red scabbards, and you can clearly see who they are. A few episodes ago we got the silhouette of Shutenmaru. Was it Shutenmaru or was it Ashura Doji? It doesn't matter. Shutenmaru. And you can see him clearly in this book. You see this person in a hat, that is Karamatsu. You see Nekomamushi, you see Inen Orochi. Looking in, I can't really see Denjiro, but it's definitely there spoiling Shutenmaru. It's definitely going to give away Karamatsu when we start getting the silhouettes of Karamatsu. And the big surprise that I'm surprised about is what's coming up next week. We see it in the preview here. Speaking of silhouettes, recently in the manga we've just had the silhouette removed from Kazuki Oden. We finally see his face after months and months of waiting. We finally saw it. We were getting teased. We got teased when he was on Roger's ship. Are we going to see it? No. Then we get into the flashback. We finally see his face. And then this anime episode comes out and they just show his face straight away. Not really happy about that. I'll talk about this more next week, but potentially this could actually ruin a little bit of suspense and build up going into some of the other Oden stuff later on in the manga. So the anime just doesn't care right now, does it? I mean, we already have some mystery around Kyoshiro being in the anime opening, and then stuff that's going on in the manga right now, confusing it up a little bit. So anime, come on. Dial it down a little bit. Stop throwing out all of those spoilers. But still, very good episode. Can't wait to see more Kyoshiro in the anime. Hey, so thanks for watching. What did you think? Let me know about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed my video, maybe give it a like. And if you really liked it, why not subscribe? You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Twitch. Oh, and here's a related video you might enjoy and something more fresh. I've been Hegassen, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!